For many teens today, being called a virgin is actually an insult. And it's true. If you're not having premarital sex, you're missing out on a lot of things. We're talking unplanned babies, STDs, depression, and even poverty, just to name a few. Take a look at this.
Safe sex is the best sex.
No sex is the best sex. I mean, abstinence. That's the only way to be 100%.
I think people should have sex with however many people they feel like before marriage.
In a sex-saturated culture where it may seem like everybody's doing it, Lakita Garth is setting the record straight.
Everybody's not doing it. As a matter of fact, the majority of high school students, by the time they graduate from high school, the majority of high school students are virgins by the time they graduate.
Lakita is a former Miss Black California who's become a highly sought-after speaker. She talks candidly with teens about abstinence, STDs, and pregnancies in a way they can really relate to.
You know, saving sex until you say I do. You guys know what I do means, don't you? It means I do you, you do me, and we don't do nobody else. That is what I do means.
That is my favorite line. Well, Lakita Garth is the author of The Naked Truth About Sex, Love, and Relationships. Welcome to the 700 Club. I just can't wait to do this interview.
Thank you so much. I am definitely glad to be here.
Okay, so I'm looking at you. First of all, you're drop dead gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I'm sure that there have been many men who've tried to pursue you, but yet you've not only taught abstinence, but you were actually abstinent before you got married.
Yes, I was a virgin when I got married. No ringy, no dingy. And I was a firm believer that, I'm going to wait until I say I do, which, of course, you heard what I do means. And I just not only talked it, and I speak to about 500,000 students across the United States and around the world. I do consulting for different governments as well. But also, you have to walk it and talk it, because I truly believe that if you're not modeling what you're teaching something else. And we as the body of Christ, if we're going to talk to the world about abstaining from sex until marriage, we have to walk it and walk it faithfully.
So I understand your platform, but why? What motivated you to make this decision to say this is something that I'm going to stick with and not do?
Well, when I was 11 years old, I had a conversation with my grandfather, of all people on the planet. You would think, talking about your grandfather about sex, but it really wasn't about sex.
Yeah.
One afternoon, I used to wait for him on the porch every day during our summers in Alabama, and I wondered where he went in the morning. So one afternoon, I asked him, I said, "Granddaddy, where do you go in the morning?" And he said, "I go to talk to my best friend." And I asked, "Who's that?" And he said, "Your grandmother." And my grandmother had been dead about 4 or 5 years, and what he said really changed my life in ways that I never thought. This man used to get up 6 out of 7 days out of the week while it was still dark, walk 2 miles to the cemetery, spend hours there, walk 2 miles back. And I asked him why he did that, and he said, "Because your grandmother made me feel like I could take over the world, and there's nothing I wouldn't done for her." He said, "The first time I ever kissed your grandmother was when the minister said, 'You may now kiss your bride.'" And so they were married for over 60 years and had 12 kids. So, after they said I do, they did. And so I looked at that and I said, that's what I want. I want what my grandparents had. I didn't want to be like girls in the community walking around 15 years old, stomach sticking out, talking about where my baby daddy is. I didn't want a Jerry Springer episode for my life. I wanted something different. I wanted the fairy tale. And I got it, and I prayed for years, Lord, send Mr. Right. And sure enough, you know who got sent?
Mr. Wright.
My husband's last name is Wright.
Shut up!
No joke. My husband. I married Mr. Wright. I don't know about y'all out there, but I married Mr. Wright. And we have a little boy. I've been married 18 months, and we have a little baby boy, and his name is Justin, so he's just right. So when you pray, you better pray specifically.
In the name of Jesus.
In the name of Jesus.
Well, one of the things I loved about your book, this hit me. I just loved it because you said, when you talk to the teens, it's not just about just say no, just don't have sex. But there's reasons why. It's about, discipline, self-control, delayed gratification. Let's talk about those
Exactly.
points.
People think abstinence is shake your finger and just say no. That's not abstinence. It's mastering the art of what you said. Self-control, self-discipline, delayed gratification, because you cannot achieve sustained success in life until you've mastered those 3 skills. And that's contrary to what our culture teaches young people in a microwave generation, because, they stand tapping their foot, looking at their watch in front of the microwave, and reality TV, the latest reality celebrity who's got 15 seconds of fame. Everything is quick, fast, and in a hurry, but no true success in life comes without those three things, even a marriage and a sex life. So that's why I came up with The Naked Truth, and it undresses lies and truths clothing that we as a culture here in America have believed, and even around the world, because American culture is world culture.
Even though you speak to a lot of different people, from senators to teenagers, teenagers are known as a group of people where it's like talking to a teen is like talking to a brick wall. So what do you say to them to give them that aha moment, that moment that gives them that light bulb that says, ah, I get it?
Well, first of all, I don't come and tell you sex is evil, sex is bad. Sex is a good thing. And now that I come back from my honeymoon, I can tell them all about it. But I start off with sex is good. God created sex to be good. Sex is a good thing. And so I come as a sexpert, and I really can now that I'm married and I've had sex. I have a baby to prove it. But I basically undress the lies that they believe. Well, it can't happen to me. That's not true. We have half of sexually active single adults right now have at least one STD. Most are walking around right now and don't even know it. We have everybody's doing it. That's not true. Everybody's not doing it, as you saw from the clip. Just practice safe sex. No such thing. We get into that. Well, the peer pressure is just no such thing. Peer pressure is a media creation, because the naked truth is misery loves company. So I basically talk to them in a way that they can understand. And I've learned the 3 R's of ministering to young people. You have to be relevant, relatable, and real. And that's 3 things that the church really hasn't been successful at, which is why I came up with this. It's not just a book, but it's a DVD-based curriculum that churches can use, and it's really needed at this particular time.
I think that's absolutely awesome. You know, one of the things, even with some of the statistics that you said, which really kind of hit me hard, you said that people who tend to have premarital sex, there's a greater percentage of poverty, of depression. Statistics, expand on that for me.
Well, the statistics, particularly for this book, because this book is targeted towards single and young people, is that teens who engage in sexual activity are more prone towards suicide. They're more prone towards depression, because it's the relationship itself which causes a lot of drama on the internal. This is a time of, I'm trying to discover who I am, and yet you're engaging in sexual relations with someone who doesn't know who they are. And then they go out and they share with their friends, and then the breakup, and it really distorts, you know, what's going on internally with young people. So what we do is we dispel the myth that, you know, living together, which is another fable. Every time you look on television, the latest sitcom, people are living together. But people who live together have the highest divorce rates of any group of people, any category. And there are many university studies that show that.
Okay, last question, wrap it up, because I know we're always getting, what do you say to that person who has already had sex, they're not married, and they say, but I want to turn my life around, I want to now take a different stance? What do you say to them?
Well, that's the last lie in Truth's clothing. It's too late for me. And there are a lot of people who are watching this and said, man, I just had that book when I was in high school. Someone had just given me that book when, you know, I was a young person. This book is for everybody. It's not just for young people who've not had sex. It's for those who are sexually active. And the majority of people who come to me and say, this book really blessed me, are people who've had sex. And parents who say, I'm empowered now to talk to my young person about sex. And so it's never too late to start making the right decisions, especially when you make a decision for Jesus Christ. Because he can make all things new, and he can put your sin as far as the east is from the west, as his word says, and cast our sin into the ocean. So we can start all over again.
I love it. 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 It's all about the naked truth. Well, Lakita's book, as I said, is called The Naked Truth, and it's available in bookstores all around the country. Thank you so much for being here and for being real.